Shalom. First and foremost, I'm going to say Kalaima, Yahweh Shem Yahushua, Bashem HaKakwadash. Double honors to the elders and apostles of the Great Millstone who do rule and teach well. And honors to the brothers across the four corners, push the truth with all sincerity. Tazapanya, check it in. One other video. Got to get these videos in. We're going to get into the Sabbath because we spoke about it earlier at camp, right? About how important it is to keep it. Of course, you keep it to the best of your ability, but just, going into examples. So this is the book of Numbers, chapter 15, verse 32. About the children of Israel were in the wilderness, they found a man that gathered sticks upon the Sabbath day, right? Which is equivalent of working today during the Sabbath. Right now, of course, back then, we weren't in the predicament where we are now, where we're, we have to come to our enemies for one and need of all things. You know what I mean? We have to work these jobs and shit, week in and week out, and where we don't really have we don't have the opportunity to just say, all right, Wednesday sundown to Thursday sundown, it's a Sabbath. Like I can't work during that time, right? And the Sabbath is different with the new moon, and sometimes you may have, a quote unquote double Sabbath, which is really just the last Sabbath of the last month going into the new moon, which is going to dictate the Sabbath of the new month, right? Which you have to go into Sirach 38. The month was given by your name, right? The moon is a declaration of feast, right? So you go by the moon. But that's another topic. But it's basically the equivalent of working today. And they that found him gathering sticks brought them unto Moses and Aaron and unto all the congregation. So they brought them from everyone. And they put him in ward because it was not declared what should be done unto him. Right? Ward means place of confinement. So they locked them up. So they locked them up basically, and had someone watch him. Listen to Moses' demand. Right? So Moses, had to look towards the Lord, man. And ask, like, what do I have to do? Right? The Lord said to Moses, the man shall be surely put to death, and the congregation shall stone him with stones without the camp. The congregation bound without the camp and stoned him with stones, and he died as the Lord commanded Moses. You know what I mean? So, like back then, man, if you broke it, right, you were liable to be put to death, man. All right, but nowadays, we should actually get that one first. This is the book of Isaiah 64, verse 6. But we as all as an unclean thing, and all our righteousness are as filthy rags. We do all feed away its leaf, and because of the wind have taken us away. All right, so we're not perfect. We're not gonna be perfect on this side, and our righteousness is as filthy rags. Even though we try to keep this truth to the best of our ability, we can't. Be perfect on this side. All right, we're gonna be perfect when this comes to pass. It's the book of Jeremiah, chapter 30. No, it's this one. No, it's not here. This probably is there. I just missed it. Bear with me. Yeah. This book of Jeremiah, chapter 31, verse 33. Verse 31. All the days come. The book of Jeremiah, chapter 31, verse 31. All the days come, say the Lord, that I'll make a new covenant with the house of Israel, with the house of Judah. All right, let's read on. Not according to the covenant that I made with their fathers, that day that took them by the hand to bring them out of the land of Egypt, which my covenant they break. although as husband unto them, saith the Lord. Right? That old covenant was that, the Lord would bless us as long as we get the law, statutes, and commandments perfectly, which they broke. Right? Just as the nation broke because we were in these sinful bodies, and we can't keep the laws, statutes, and commandments perfectly on this side. It's just, you know what I mean? The wages of sin is death, man. You know what I mean? These sinful bodies started with, I brought that one out, wages of sin being death, because, you know what I mean? You got to go back until Genesis the 6th, actually, in just 6th chapter, like the 4th or maybe 5th, right? It goes into basically how, with every generation, the lifespan will be cut shorter and shorter and shorter, pretty much, right? Because, after the fall with Adam, right? It's like, yeah, of course, Eve transgressing first, then Adam, right? As the scripture says, right? Of that happening, man, then we began to, die, man, right? And lifespan just started cutting shorter until you have what it is now, where, what I mean, lifespan is around about 80 years old, but shit, a lot of Jakes be going at like 60. You know what I mean? It's all the sicknesses, all this processed food, this defiled food amongst the heathen. You know what I mean? So, yeah, the last part, which my covenant to break, although I was a husband unto them. Yeah, you know what I mean? We're the Lord's woman, spiritually speaking. And that's, what was main scripture, why the child not play the harlot anymore, things like that, backsliding daughter. I'm thinking of Isaiah, the 50th chapter, I believe. Where is the bill that mother's divorcement? Like I gave you, like, I'm gonna have to go into it. I like to get into this one. This is one I like to get through. So this is the book of Isaiah 50, verse 1. So that the Lord, what is the bill of your mother's divorcement, whom I have put away, which of my creditors is to whom I have sold you? Both for your iniquities have you sold yourselves, for your transgression is your mother put away. Alright, so where's your mother? Where's the bill of your mother's divorcement? Alright, whom I have put away. Alright, because us as the people, right? Right, the Lord, yeah, I mean, we put ourselves away, pretty much. Right? Or which of my creditors is to whom I have sold you, right? The Lord sell us because he had a debt? No. Behold, for iniquities have you sold yourselves, right? So the Lord didn't hand us he just didn't like want to get rid of us or something like that. We basically want to get rid of ourselves, right? So for your iniquities have you sold yourselves, and for your transgression is your blood put away, right? So that's pretty much what it's getting into, man. Just go into this last one. So yeah, Lord is, yeah, man, we're the Lord's woman, so to speak. Alright. Another one is like Revelation talks about the marriage of the Lamb. You know what I mean? Marriage being in one like mind with Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai, man. So that's what it's pretty much going into. You know what I mean? We're the Lord's woman. We played the harlot. There's another one, right? Judah, your sister Israel, played the harlot first, and then Judah went thereafter. Alright, pretty much going to what the other kingdom was doing. Right, they were bugging out, worshiping all kinds of gods. And when you really like get into like the Book of Kings, the other kingdom were really bugging out on some different type of shit. They were like lighting each other on fire and shit, and killing their kings, and shit was brutal, man. You know what I mean? It's crazy. You really think about it, they were really bugging out too when they came over to America in time. Our shrift, cutting each other's heads off and throwing them down the temple, do all kinds of blood sacrifice. You know what I mean? So our people had to be judged, man. Had to have that judgment come down upon them. You know what I mean? But you know what I mean? Um, at the end of the day, man, the brothers out there that are teaching, turn back from their wicked ways, man, come into the truth. You know, to read the full luck, man, they're gonna be saved, right? And then, yeah, at the end of the day, all Israel's gonna be saved. So even, 2/3 here in America are gonna be saved through our sea line. You know what I mean? And so on and so forth, man. Um, so this is the last verse. And I'm gonna cut it. Let it be that. This should be a covenant that I will make with all Israel after those days, saith the Lord. I'll put my law in the inward parts and write it in their hearts, and will build their power. And they shall be my people. Alright, so yeah, law is gonna be in the inward parts. So, hey, like today for divorce, we won't get into that, but we don't have to teach each other. We're just gonna be all perfect, right? We'll have we'll have the kingdom. You know what I mean? We'll have any of these nations above us, so we'll be able to keep the law, statutes, and commandments perfectly in righteousness. So we'll be able to keep a Sabbath. The Sabbath. If it's a double Sabbath, you keep the double Sabbath, right? Like I mentioned, like the last Sabbath of the previous month, and then you keep the new moon that comes thereafter, right? Keeping the high holy days in perfection, you know what I mean? Just being perfect. Very beautiful and something to be, to look forward to, man. You know what I mean? Because it's society, you can't keep these laws, statutes, and commands perfectly, you know? So, we're not going to sin, so you're not going to die. We'll have the spiritual power. We'll have these nations in subjection. So, let that be that. We'll edify and say shalom.